If the idea of starting a nonprofit or non-governmental organization that helps a lot of people and does a lot of good in the world is your dream, but you're weighing your options while you're trying to figure out how to actually make it work, then this video is for you. Because at least a few times a week, I'm talking to social workers with big hearts who hear me talking on this channel about entrepreneurship and leveraging your social work degree, and you're just wondering what that actually looks like when you have a dream of building a nonprofit that's bigger than you, but you're just not sure how to get there. Now, here's my truth. Even though I know firsthand what running a national nonprofit organization is like, I haven't promoted this approach to entrepreneurship on the channel because, frankly, it's really hard to get a nonprofit up and running, and all that glitters isn't gold. So let me explain. NGOs are a vital part of our world and economy. They play a huge role in developing our society and improving communities and fostering public participation. And generally, NGOs have noble missions and are admired for their service in the public arena, which is admired both in public and private sectors. So that's great. In fact, NGOs started by social workers like Rebecca Van Bergen, who founded NEST. And if you haven't heard about NEST, it's a nonprofit that promotes fair trade for the work of international artists and craftspeople across 120 countries, and it provides pro bono consultancies and educational programs to them and their communities as well. So NGOs like that are hailed as hashtag service goals in countless social work arenas, since inherently they model the entire mission of social work in organizational form. Now, there are plenty of other channels and videos and podcasts that will walk you through the processes of what it actually looks like to start and run a successful nonprofit organization. They'll tell you about things like funding models and how to get grants and convince you of why starting your own nonprofit is a good idea, the whole 9 yards. Let me tell you right now, this video is not one of them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing NGOs and I never will, but because I do know the huge effort that it takes to start and grow and run a nonprofit, I'd rather spend my time on this channel talking to you about your options for making a contribution and offering you an alternative way to look at mission-driven entrepreneurship that also makes a big impact. So in this video, we're going to be uncovering some of the challenges that go along with starting a nonprofit and looking at a viable alternative to starting an NGO that still allows you to make the impact you so desire, and by the end, you'll have an additional option for thinking about service and ways that you can share your big heart with the world with or without nonprofit founder behind your name. By the way, I'm Eva Ford, social worker, mindset mentor, and online business coach, and on this channel, we talk all about money, mindset, and motivation to help you live your richest life. And thanks to everyone who's been liking and commenting on the videos here. It really helps let YouTube know that it's valuable content so that they show it to even more people. And if it's your first time here, welcome to Rich Social Worker. If you know you want to make a bigger impact that allows you to serve the causes and communities you care most about, then hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video like this one, where we're thinking through our options when it comes to making an impact that also makes a big difference in the world. Now, before we get into these options, let's briefly explore some of the reasons why you might actually want to start a nonprofit to begin with. For one, if you did manage to build a successful NGO, you'd presumably be able to help a lot of people, which is great because after all, isn't that what you signed up for when you enrolled in social work school to begin with? Helping people is our whole jam. So setting up an NGO that does that seems like it'd be a good idea. Not to mention, for those of us that are entrepreneurial at heart, running your own nonprofit organization is empowering. It's great when you can lead your own team and not have to suffer the unethical or worse, incompetent management that doesn't respect you or the skilled qualifications that you bring. Yeah, that's not hot. On that note, being an NGO founder is a great way to live out your legacy as a service-driven human being. It definitely feels great to know that your vision can help to transform countless lives for generations to come. And for those of us that don't mind a little praise every now and then, let's be honest, being a founder is a total ego boost. Of course, you don't do it for the fame or the money, but you gotta admit that being a founder for an impact-driven mission is pretty dope. So I get it. But for all the upside to starting a nonprofit, there's an alternative cost that can bring it down. For one, NGOs take up a lot of time to set up, and I mean a lot of time. And it's not because of one thing, it's because of all of the things. For instance, It takes a lot of time to complete the paperwork required to register an NGO. That includes things like writing your bylaws, getting your articles of incorporation together, and securing startup funding. That's just to name a few things. And depending on who you have in mind, it also takes time to identify your board members and get all their information together and submit that for your application. Oh, and on that board member note, you're not really your own boss here. NGOs have shared control with their boards. And sometimes what you really want to do and think is best for the cause, your board doesn't think it's a good idea and they won't allow it. So there's that. And like any organization that serves lots of people, nonprofits have lots of moving pieces. And unless you or someone on your team knows how to organize your systems and streamline your back end so that your processes help you to serve your population better, those moving pieces might actually prevent you from serving your population well at all. And sooner or later, those pieces, like your volunteer system or your communication channels or your funding sources, can become overwhelming and come crashing down around you. And even worse, crashing down around the people you intended to serve in the first place. And nobody wants that. And rest assured, whether or not that happens, you will be judged. Nonprofits are constant targets for public scrutiny and criticism from all angles. There's no getting away from the judgment of how you fundraise or how much you get paid or how you serve your stakeholders and how you show up as a leader. Honestly, the list is longer, but I had to cut for time. And we haven't even touched on the funding of it all, which, if you're running a nonprofit, already has high costs and low margins. Not to mention the time it takes to identify the right donors and grant opportunities, and the pressure to win contracts, which is a whole other chapter in itself. My point is, starting a nonprofit can truly be a mammoth undertaking. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't start one, but on this channel, before we talk about how you want to serve, we talk about what you want your life to look like. And if owning your own time and radical self-care and sharing your unlimited wealth with the people and causes you care most about is your idea of the kind of rich life you want to live, but you're just not sure how to get there, then all I'm saying is that maybe starting your own nonprofit at this time is something you want to reconsider. On the other hand, if you were going to start a for-profit business that aligned with your values and skills and that allowed you the time and the financial freedom to serve and contribute in the ways that you wanted to and with whom you wanted to, now that I'd encourage you to do 100%. And since on this channel we promote wealth creation from a life design perspective, extra points if that business also allows you to be location independent and live like you're always on vacation, like I do. Now, there are hundreds of options for social workers to leverage their skills for online business, but one of the best ways I've found for us to do that while simultaneously making a bigger impact is through coaching and consulting. Unlike starting an NGO, the time it takes to go from idea to implementation of your venture is just the time it takes for you to figure out what your niche is, which essentially is who you help and how you help them. There's no board to be assembled, and you can legit do it on the side, even before you ever think about paperwork you might need to register as a business. In fact, pretty much everything you need to get up and running can be accessed free online. You're gonna need some sort of way for people to learn about who you are and what you help them achieve. But that could be through your social media or a simple landing page, or it could just be your LinkedIn page. Then you'll need some way for people to pay you. But you have a PayPal account, right? You'll also need a way to meet people online, like Google Meet or Skype or Zoom. But once you and your client agree to the terms of your services, you're off to the races. And whether or not you realize it, you're already coaching and consulting in your life right now. That might be doing it at your job or with your neighbor down the street. But this is the part that I know you have down pat. And I know because as a social worker, it's something that you are equipped to do. In fact, the biggest challenge I see social workers who hear this and then decide that they do want to pivot from the NGO idea to coach or consultant is that they have a hard time identifying anyone but people who can't afford to pay them as potential clients. And what you have to understand is that people who do have the money to invest need your help as well. And they're looking for people with your skills to help them. Help them do things like improve their relationship with their partners or become more emotionally intelligent. They're looking for people to help them reinvent themselves after a breakup or after their kids have flown the coop, and help them prioritize their physical health and their self-care. Honestly, the path to earning 6 or 7 figures is closer than you might imagine when you start to leverage your skills as a coach or consultant. And the best part is that when you do turn a profit, you can afford to give back generously to your favorite nonprofit or have more of the resources and the clout that you need to get funding for your own NGO that won't stress you out when you do. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how you can position yourself as a coach or consultant, but you haven't seen my free training on how to get started, I've put all of the information to access that in the description below. In another video, we're going to talk about what to do with all of that extra money that you make as a coach or consultant so that it grows whether or not you decide to continue working. And then you could do even more good in the world. As always, I believe you can dream, be, do, or have anything you want, but it starts with your mindset. So make sure it's a rich one. I'll see you in the next video.